Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we're going over the news that former Republican nominee for Senate in 2024 Mike Rogers has announced he's officially running for another run in the state of Michigan. This makes Rogers the first major Republican candidate to jump into the Michigan Senate race. The Michigan race is expected to be key to the battle for the U.S. Senate, with Republicans looking to grow their majority. With Democratic Senator Gary Peters retiring, Rogers is running again after he lost to Democrat Elissa Slotkin last November in a very close race. Slotkin defeated Rogers by less than half a percentage point, even though Donald Trump won the state of Michigan by more than 1 point. Rogers, in his intro video, invoked President Trump, announcing his run, saying, "As your next senator, I won't just represent Michigan. I'll fight for it, I'll stand with President Trump, and we will deliver on the mandate given to him by the American people." It is not yet clear whether he will have Trump's endorsement. Rogers earned Trump's endorsement in a crowded primary last year, around 6 months after he launched his campaign. But he did get an early boost from the Senate GOP leaders, with Majority Leader Senator John Thune of South Dakota and National Republican Senatorial Committee Chairman Tim Scott both endorsing Rogers Monday morning. Michigan is a battleground state, and with Mike as our candidate, I know we will add this seat to President Trump's Senate majority in 2026. But Rogers might face a contested primary again. Tudor Dixon, the party's 2022 nominee for governor, has been weighing campaigns for governor or the Senate. GOP Representative Bill Huizenga also told Fox News over the weekend he is considering running. The Democratic primary is also expected to be hotly contested. State Senator Mallory McMorrow launched her campaign last week, becoming the first major Democratic candidate in the race. Representative Haley Stevens is considering a Senate run, and Abdul El-Sayed, who stepped down as the Wayne County Health Director last week and is weighing a run, and told the Detroit Free Press he would decide within the next couple of weeks. Rogers was elected to the U.S. House in 2000 after having served in the state Senate. A former FBI agent, Rogers was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and did not run for re-election last year. So with this news, Rogers being the first Republican to declare and immediately getting the endorsement of John Thune and getting the endorsement of Tim Scott, I think very clearly states that the Republicans feel, or at least the Washington Republicans feel, Mike Rogers represents the Republicans' best chance at winning this race. And it's really not all that surprising when you look back at 2024. Elissa Slotkin defeated Mike Rogers by just 0.34% in a very close race. In the last few Senate races in Michigan, they have not been as close as 2024 was. 2020 went to the Democrat Gary Peters by 1.7% over John James, still very close, but a larger win. And then 2018, where Democrat Debbie Stabenow won by 6.5 points over Republican John James as well. So even though Mike Rogers did lose the Michigan Senate race in 2024, just 0.34% over Elissa Slotkin gives the Republicans a very strong candidate and a strong floor to start out in this race. The problem, and if you've seen some of my prior videos, you know I've discussed this, the Republicans seem to have a problem with getting a lot of people out to vote when President Trump is not on top of the ballot. For instance, in the state of Michigan in 2024, Trump won it by 1.4. In 2020, Biden won it by 2.8. In 2016, Trump won it by 0.22. But when you look at the elections when Trump is not on top of the ballot, so far we have 2018, where the Democrat Debbie Stabenow won by 6.5 points. When you look at the governor's side of things, in 2022, again, Trump was not on top of the ballot. Whitmer won re-election by 10.5 points. And you can go back to 2018 as well. Whitmer won by 9.6%. You can look at some of the House races as well. Here in Michigan, the Republicans won 7 House races, Democrats won 6. In 2022, Democrats won 7, Republicans won 6. 2020, it was split 7-7. 2018, 7-7 again. So the Democrats seem to do better in Michigan when President Trump is not at the top of the ballot, which is going to be tough for the Republicans in 2026 and what is expected to be a year that favors the Democrats based on the national environment and the historical trends of midterm elections. But that being said, the Republicans getting Mike Rogers to run in this race does give them, I think, a pretty strong floor starting out with. Will Rogers be able to replicate the 48.30% that he got in 2024? Will he do less? Will he do more? A lot of this is going to depend on the national environment, and are Republicans that voted for Donald Trump, are they energized and motivated to get out to vote? Because when you look at the state of Michigan in 2024, the Senate race, the popular vote on the Democratic side was about 2.7 million and just a bit shy of 2.7 million for Mike Rogers. the Republican. Now, if you want to look at the presidential numbers, you can see a little bit of a vote discrepancy. Here, Donald Trump got 2.8 million, and Kamala Harris got close to about 2.74 million. So Trump had 2.8, Rogers was just shy of 2.7. So another 120,000 votes or so, Republicans voted for Donald Trump that did not vote for Mike Rogers in the Senate race in 2024. And without President Trump at the top of the ballot, you would imagine that would probably only make things worse for Mike Rogers. But that being said, I do still think out of all potential Republican candidates in the state of Michigan, the Republicans getting Mike Rogers to run does give them a very strong floor. And that is evident as well by Rogers already getting the endorsement of Tim Scott, who's in charge of trying to get Republicans elected this cycle, and John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader. As for this race, the prediction website, so the Cook Political Report, has it listed as a toss-up. Inside Elections has it as battleground, and Saddler's Crystal Ball has it as toss-up. Race to the White House has it as tilt Democrat. Early hypothetical polling so far against Dana Nessel and Mike Rogers shows Nessel up by 1 point. We have Pete Buttigieg, when he was looking at running, had Buttigieg up by 2 in one poll, Rogers up by 6, but he's not running, so that doesn't really matter at this point. Whitmer, if she decided to run against Mike Rogers, which she's indicated she will not, she was beating Rogers in that poll. And then Haley Stevens versus Rogers, Rogers had the lead here. So not much help on the polling side of things, as this race is still very early on. The Democrat side of things, as the article mentioned, Mallory McMorrow announced she is running. Haley Stevens, the U.S. representative, has an announcement pending that should be happening very soon, as well as Sarah Anthony, Abdul Al-Sayed, Dana Nessel, and Joe Tate, all of which are expected to be announcing in the coming days and weeks relatively soon on what their intentions are. As for the 2026 Senate map and where things stand on this is from a prior prediction. Let me go back to where I had the map. I have about 4 Senate seats, listed as battleground. In New Hampshire, I have it as lean Democrat to start out. The state of Michigan, I would start Michigan out probably in the lean Democratic category right now, which is over 1 point margin of victory, under 5 points. I think the Republicans are going to do a little bit worse in Michigan in 2026 than they did in 2024, a large reason being that Donald Trump is not at the top of the ticket to help boost Republican turnout. In a lot of states across the country, a lot of toss-up states have had trouble getting Republicans out to vote when Trump is not on top of the ticket, Michigan being one among them, absolutely. So I do have Michigan as lead Democrat, but I do think Mike Rogers running is some good news for the Republicans, that they have a candidate that I think starts out with a very solid floor. The question will be, is he capable of getting more support than he got in 2024, which if he's going to win the Senate race, he's very likely going to need to exceed that 48% or so that he got. That'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give the video a like. Please remember to click subscribe. Share with all your friends and family. I always love checking out the comments, so make sure you do that. And I post 2 new videos every day at 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. you are not going to want to miss. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.